I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we create AI hundreds of years before it should be possible. And
Nothing can possibly go wrong, right? Right?
you know
No, everything does go wrong.
I think the thing that went wrong first was the Doctor somehow getting back to 1966.
Yep, he just always manages to get back to whatever year it is when the episode plays London.
Yeah, there's millions of other places he could go with a faulty TARDIS that he can't control, and yet he somehow always finds his way back to 1966 London.
Well, it worked out for this serial, which was good overall, except for that terrible last final episode, which is also the final episode of season 3.
Wasn't terrible. The final 5 minutes were terrible.
I had some other problems with that episode, but we'll get to that as we always do.
So it begins with Dodo.
Well, we've neglected to mention that this was the War Machines.
Yeah.
The final season of
the final season of
the final. No, that would actually be terrible. No, the final serial of season 3. But yeah, it begins with
the Doctor and Dodo materializing in London and the return of
They've completely forgotten about Steven. They don't care about him anymore. And yeah.
Well, I don't know. They don't say how long it's been since that episode. Because it doesn't follow directly from that episode. So it could have been like 3 years. Who knows? Or it could have been like 10 seconds.
6 months of adventures with Sarah Kingdom.
So the Doctor's got his cloak and his hat on again. Maybe that's symbolic somehow, but...
Maybe he's just Batman.
What?
I don't know. Whenever someone wears a cloak, I just think of Batman's cape.
Oh boy. So the Doctor just all of a sudden is like, that tower, look, it's finished. And Dodo's like, what? And then the Doctor's like, I'm getting an evil presence from that tower. Like when I have to fight the Daleks. And Dodo's like, what? She's never fought the Daleks, apparently.
And then the Doctor kind of just brushes it off like it's nothing.
Well, it isn't. It isn't, because what happens in the serial?
So they go into the tower, which I think they called the post office tower.
Something like that.
I don't know if that's even a real thing.
Yeah, the post office tower.
But posing as a computer technician...
They just let him in, apparently.
Yeah, he gets into, like, the highest floor of the tower, and, like...
It should be the most secure one, based on what's in there. And later the Major mentions they have, like, security guards at every door on that floor.
But, no, they just walk in, and they meet Professor Brett, another character named Brett.
Yeah, I just kept thinking of the other Brett.
Yeah.
Every time they said Brett, I was like, what?
But yeah, they meet Professor Brett, and they meet him and his secretary, Polly, and he's developed an AI named Votan.
Spelled with a W.
Which, interestingly enough, is an alternate name for Odin, the Norse god. Yeah. I don't know how I knew that, but I did.
I just found that out this morning when I was researching Votan.
But yes, it's an AI, and it just knows everything. And Dodo's like, well, it can't know it. Well, first the Doctor doesn't really believe it, so he asks it the square root of some large number, and it gets it right. And then Dodo's like, I can stump this thing. And she asks it, what does TARDIS stand for? And it gets it, which should have been the first sign that something was terribly, terribly wrong. But, yeah.
Lucky guess. Right? Sort of. Maybe. But anyway, so Dodo, like, after that she has like a headache or something from some high-pitched noise, probably coming from Votan. It's implied to come from Votan.
It is. We'll just spoil it right now. Fine. It's coming from Votan.
Anyway, she like goes over to Polly and is like, I just want to go to the hottest nightclub in town. And Polly's like, oh, that would be the Inferno. And then it cuts to the Inferno! Without warning, it just cuts cuts like really abruptly after Polly finishes talking. It's like that would be the Inferno cut.
Yep, and then you see some sort of 60s.
Club.
Yep.
I feel like maybe Polly misunderstood hottest. Because, Inferno, hots. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Polly's friends with the bartender there.
Who's a girl.
And the bartender friend person,
Lady person thing
tells him about this sailor who's been there for a week. And I don't know if that was meant to be like in and out for a week or like actually just been in the bar for a week.
I think it was in and out. Something made me think it was in and out. In and out's a good restaurant. Something made me think it was in and out, but I don't remember what it was.
But anyway, she asks Polly if she and Dodo can go cheer him up because he's been in a bad mood. So they do, they try to. But he's
like, nope. He's depressed about something that's never explained ever.
No, it was that he was stationed to the barracks for 6 months. Just remember he wanted to go out to sea, but now he's like on
Wait a
land
minute.
for.
Does this mean the whole serial is 6 months long? Because at the end he's about to go be deployed again.
Oh, I thought he said he needed to get to the barracks at the end.
Oh, I thought he said he had 10 minutes before he leaves. Oh boy. Anyway.
Well, whatever.
So, anyway. So this other guy starts hitting on Polly, and Ben's like, whoa, man, stop being all sketchy. And
and he just punches him.
And they, like, fight for a bit, and the bartender's like, whoa, what's going on? And Ben's like, nothing, one of your guests just wanted to leave. So he does, he just leaves.
And then you see the doctor. It cuts, first, what actually happened then? Was it the scene with Brett then?
No, the doctor goes to the scientist meeting.
Yeah. Right, so the doctor is attending the Royal Scientific Club, which I guess is going to discuss Votan.
Yeah.
So he does that. And
they're talking about how a whole bunch of important computers in the world are all going to come under the control of Votan. Which is, to be honest, even if Votan wasn't a malevolent AI, is still a bad idea. But anyway.
But, yeah, Brett was supposed to be present at the meeting to discuss Votan, but he's not there. So this dude named Charles is like, well,
Sir
Brett isn't
Charles.
here. Yeah, Sir Charles Summer. He's kind of holding the discussion. And there are a bunch of reporters there and just other people and scientists and technicians and whatnot.
And one that I guess is supposed to be American.
Yeah, and reporter for the New York Sketch. Don't know how I remembered that. But then
it cuts to Brett.
Right, it cuts to Brett. He's still in his room in the tower with Votan, and this guy named Major Green walks in, and Professor Brett tells him how he feels as if something's been watching him for the past however long. And then Major Green's like, no, this...
It's Votan.
Yeah, it is. But Major Green's like, no, this part of the tower is completely secure. There's nothing here. But then Votan uses its audio control thing to control Brett.
Yeah, it like makes this weird sound, and then on the screen, kind of translucent, there's this twirly thing. And then like Brett snaps up all like robot-like. He's like, alright, I'm gonna leave now. He goes to the meeting, grabs Professor Crimpton, some professor there helping Sir Charles, and takes him back to Votan, and he also gets hypno-psychotherapized. And then...
Right, we forgot to mention that this also happened to Dodo when they were there at first.
Yeah, because, then they call Dodo, and then they patch the phone through to Votan, and then it hypnotizes Dodo fully, and then she just leaves the club.
Right, and she shows up at
Votan headquarters, post office tower thing.
and
And
and now they're a league of 4 controlled.
3.
Oh yeah, Major Green's not controlled yet. Spoiler: he gets controlled. Um, so yeah, Votan commands Dodo to go find the Doctor and get him under its control because they need the Doctor's superior intellect.
And for some reason, Votan calls the Doctor Doctor Who. It's the only time in the entire show someone calls him Doctor Who.
He does know everything.
Not quite. It's calling him Doctor Who.
I'm
Nah.
shrugging.
Eh.
Can't see it, but I'm
Whatever.
shrugging.
Episode 2. Dodo. Oh, so the Doctor shows up at the club. And
He's concerned about Dodo,
the bartender is like, wow, we never get people your
which
age
is
in here.
suspiciously incongruent with what happens at the end of this serial.
Well, anyway, the Doctor's concerned about Dodo, and he asks Polly and Ben where they are. He just meets Ben now. And apparently he really likes these people because he trusts them for the whole rest of the serial. But he asks Polly where Dodo is, and she's like, I don't know, she left. And then, so they're there when the club's like trying to close down. And the bartender's trying to kick him out. And then Dodo shows up, and they're like, wow.
She tells them that she was just around the block hanging out with one of her friends
Right.
when she was really secretly conspiring to take over the world.
Right. So,
The Doctor and Dodo are being put up by Sir Charles, so they want to get a cab to his place.
right, so Ben says he'll go get him a cab. And
And meanwhile, as they're waiting, they see some sketch-looking guys in an alley, and Dodo's like, they look pretty friendly.
she was just like, Doctor, that's the wrong way. The cabs are over here. And the doctor's like, oh, are you sure? Okay. And then Ben's like, Doctor, got you a cab. And he's like, oh, thanks, man.
So they get in the cab, and
This homeless dude gets out.
right, and he tries to avoid paying in some humorous back and forth with the cabbie. And eventually he just leaves, I guess. And he tells
Polly gives him change to pay.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And then Polly gets in the cab with them.
Right, because she needs to go back to wherever she's going.
Yeah. And Ben's just like, I'm gonna go to the barracks. And he talks to the homeless guy. He's like, hey, you got a place to sleep tonight? I thought he was gonna like offer him a place to sleep, but then he didn't. He was like, all right, have a good night. And then the homeless dude's like, all right, and he goes into the sketch warehouse. So meanwhile,
Wait,
Charles,
when does
Charles,
Professor
Brett.
Green get
Professor Green, Major Green,
Major Green? When does Major Green get hypnotized?
soon.
Soon? Really? It was after this? For some reason, I don't remember it being after this, but whatever. Because he was already there when the...
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
he was hypnotized before or after Dodo. I don't know. Well, he got hypnotized at some point.
Yeah, so Major Green is also under Votan's control, and he's in the warehouse, and they're building something strange and weird.
Right.
And the homeless guy walks in, and he's like, whoa, what's going on here? And then they kill him. There's a bunch of people there building some stuff, and then they kill him.
Right, Brett and Crimpton have been like working on Votan, although I don't know what they're doing. And Votan's been telling them they gotta build like war machines at strategic locations around London and the world, although that never comes into play. And yeah, the homeless man dies. And then so the Doctor and Dodo are chilling at
Right, and I think Votan's, to sort of interrupt your point here, I think Votan's, what's the word? It's reasoning behind... That's not the word I was looking for, but it's reasoning behind wanting to create the war machines is that it just wants to have machines take over, which is kind of dumb.
humans can't progress anymore without the aid of machines. Anyway, the Doctor and Dodo are at Sir Charles's house, and the Doctor's like,
It's the next morning.
better call Brett. So he does, and they patch him through to Votan, and Votan tries to mind control the Doctor, but he puts the phone down.
Well, first he sees... This isn't really that important, actually, but he and Sir Charles see in the morning paper that
Right.
the report of the death of the the dude that they saw last night. But yeah, as you were saying,
So he puts the phone down, and then, like, Dodo thinks he's been hypnotized. She's like, "We need your help, Doctor. I'm to be your servant now. They're being constructed at strategic places around London." The Doctor's like, "What? What? What?" Apparently it didn't work on the Doctor. Because then he
right.
figures out Dodo's been hypnotized, and then he does some hypnosis stuff with his
Apparently the
ring.
Doctor can like snap people out of hypnosis.
And she falls asleep, and he's like, "She'll be asleep for 48 hours." And Sir Charles like, "Yeah, she can go hang out in the country with my cousin or my sister or whatever."
And that's the last you ever see of Dodo.
Spoiler.
Spoiler, but
Dodo's
why?
just out of commission.
Anyway, Polly's there, and well, she showed up before, and she told Sir Charles that she'd been sent there by Professor Brett because apparently his secretary was sick or whatever.
Right.
And Sir Charles was like, "But how would Brett have ever known that?"
And she's like, "I don't know." And then she leaves.
And
She just leaves. And then Ben shows up.
but she goes to see Professor Brett because she thinks something suspicious is happening.
And then she gets hypnotized.
Right, she gets hypnotized.
Anyway, Ben shows up. And he's looking for Polly because they're going to go get lunch.
But she never showed up. And
the Doctor just enlists the help of Ben and tells him to go check out the sketchy warehouse. And he's like, "All right."
Might as well. So he goes to the warehouse and he witnesses the war machine in action. And they're running a bunch of tests on its destructive capabilities. And it looks kind of like a
Dalek.
Yeah, a bigger, more geometric, more deadly Dalek.
And yeah, with tape.
Tape?
The wheels with the...
Oh.
It like records all of its information on tape still. Because hard drives haven't been invented yet. Because it's only 1966.
It also had that hammer thing.
Which was
giant
actually
hammer.
Completely useless right up until the end where Crimpton is... Okay, yeah, we'll get that. So, at the end of the episode, the war machine kills a guy, and at the end
As
of the
a
episode...
test subject.
Yeah, and then at the end of the episode, it's chasing off to Ben, and then episode 2 ends, and then you're like, "Wow, Ben."
Oh, I thought that was kind of exciting, actually. I was like, is he going to live? Is he going to die? But no. No, I actually didn't think that. Yeah. Anyway, on to episode 3. As usual, picks up right where episode 2 left off.
It would be weird if it didn't. Like, it just cuts to the Inferno again.
But, yeah, Ben tries to run out of the warehouse. But on his way out, he sees Polly, and he's like, "Polly, we have to get out of here. Something weird's going on." But she's like, "Nope," and then she just locks the door and locks him in. And
He's definitely got something for Polly, yo. Which made, like, painfully obvious throughout the serial.
Yep. And
But,
I
yeah.
guess will be expanded upon because of what happens at the end. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. So Brett is about to be killed because Major Green is like, all intruders must be killed. But then, in the first sign that Polly is not fully under the control of Votan,
Her love prevails over the hypnosis. That's what I thought was happening, okay?
well, she tells Major Green that they need all the help they can get to build the war machines and that they should keep Ben alive so he can help them, which they do. And then, after a while, Ben's working with Polly, and they're discussing how, well, Polly's saying how the war machines are like the best thing ever, and Ben is like, "I need to escape." So he sees that once again the guard is being lax, and there's no one guarding the door. So he escapes.
Yeah, he just escapes, and Polly just lets him go. They make eye contact before Ben leaves, and he leaves.
Yeah. And then...
So the Doctor's waiting. He's like, "Oh, I bet something's happened. I better go myself." And then Sir Charles wants to call the police like he does for the whole episode. But then Ben shows up and tells him this fantastic story about Polly, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, okay. guess there's a war machine there.
And Sir Charles is like, what? What are you talking about? No, that doesn't make any sense.
And eventually they somehow convince Sir Charles to do something. And he decides to call the police, even though the doctor tells him not to. And then when he calls the police, they just skip the police and go straight to the army.
Yep. They call the army in to stop the war machines. And
yeah.
First you see Polly in the warehouse telling Major Green that she let Ben go. And
he's like, wow, we're gonna have to kill you now.
So he sends her to Votan headquarters thing.
Post office tower.
To be judged by Votan.
Yeah.
And then they bring the army in.
And then the army goes in,
and then there's this 8-minute scene of pure chaos.
And the machine's spraying its gas everywhere, but not killing anyone with it, which it did earlier.
And most of their guns are jammed? That's what I got out of that scene.
The machine can jam their guns somehow, and
so they send in this patrol named Orange Patrol, which is like 7 guys. And a few of them die. We didn't really know how many. I think we agreed upon 2 at the end, because you see 7 go in. And I saw 5 come out. I think you saw...
I saw 3. So who knows? I don't know. Just agree on 2 people died.
Okay.
Almost at 200.
We are. So the army does basically nothing to stop the war machine, and it comes out of the warehouse, and it's like destroying everything in its path.
The gas can just light things on fire. Did you catch that?
No, when was this?
It sprayed the gas on like a pile of boxes, and then they caught fire.
Well, when
it came out of the warehouse.
Well, all the boxes said like explosive material. So
it was outside, so it was just like crates, and it just caught fire. Like when the Chumbly started to... Way back in The Rescue. Was that The Rescue?
No, that was Galaxy 4.
Oh, yeah. That was this season.
Yeah, the first serial of this season. Maybe this is a callback. No, it's not.
No. But then the machine just stops for unexplained reasons.
Everyone's running away, and the doctor just stands in front of the machine. He's like, what? Are you going to keep coming at me, punk?
And then it doesn't. It like turns and then like turns around. This is into episode 4. Episode 3 ends with the doctor standing there, all badass. And then episode 4 starts and the machine just like turns around a bit and stops.
And then the doctor like reverse engineers part of the machine, and he's like, as I thought, its programming was incomplete. Which begs the question, how did you know, Doctor? How did you know its programming was incomplete? And this is where everything starts to fall into little tiny pieces of disappointment.
Really? I liked episode 4. It was exciting. Except for when the
thing happens at the end. I felt that so far there was a lot of tension from episodes 1 through 3, and there was a lot of build-up towards this. Well, you could see how it was all building up towards something disastrous, which hadn't really come to a boil yet.
Right.
And I thought it was all gonna sort of explode in episode 4, but it kind of didn't. I felt like they kind of lost tension with what they did here, but I
disagree. It was pretty tense. Anyway, the doctor figures out that the war machine's going to attack at noon, and then the defense minister's like, oh man, we are in for some sketchy shizzes.
And you see some of the war machines, which are now done, I guess, rampaging throughout the city and killing some people. Well, killing one guy.
That was just 9. That was just the machine that went haywire early.
Oh yeah, okay. So...
yeah, the machines have numbers on them. The one that the programming wasn't complete was 3. Which I actually noticed they made a slight error and they used the number 9 machine for one of 3's scenes way back in episode 2. But anyway, machine 9 is the one that's gone haywire and is like rampaging through the streets, and some guy in a phone box calls the police, and then the machine kills him.
Another one on the death count.
Another one bites the dust.
So then the doctor and friends come up with this ingenious plan to stop the war machines by using electromagnetic fake science.
Not fake science. He's just creating a field of zero potential which would stop the electromagnetic ways from getting to the machine and controlling it.
Sounded like fake science
It's
to
not
me.
fake science. This is like the one time it's real science.
Still sounded like fake science. And connecting the cable thing was just dumb, in my opinion.
So they create a box, 4 sides. And they need the machine to roll into it, so they block off some roads, and the machine's going, and it rolls in, and Ben runs across to close the wire. The doctor was gonna do that, but Ben's like, no, 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 no. Too dangerous. I'll do it. Meanwhile, through like all of episode 3 and 4, Ben's been like, "Where's Polly? Hey, doctor, let's save Polly. Doc, hey, Doc, where's Polly? Doctor." And then the doctor's like, "If we care about one person, we're not gonna save anyone." That kind of shuts Ben up for a while.
Yeah. So they managed to disable the war machine using their box of cable thing, weird stuff.
And then the doctor reprograms it, and you don't
Because
know what it's gonna
apparently he can do that.
He is from Gallifrey.
Maybe he
We don't
was
know that
actually a
yet.
computer technician. Maybe he wasn't lying at the beginning of this serial.
Yeah. He flies a time machine. You gotta be pretty smart to do that.
He doesn't
Especially
really know
with-
how it works, though.
Well, he knows what all the buttons do, so that's good enough. Right?
I guess. But they now have control of a war machine.
And it goes to Votan, and then Ben's like, "I gotta save Polly." So he goes and grabs Polly and like kidnaps her and
Well-
leaves.
He anti-kidnaps her because she's been mind-jacked by Votan.
And then
And the war machine shows up,
yeah,
and it kills Crimpton. Or,
Crimpton.
yeah, Crimpton.
Because Crimpton tries to disable it. And this is the only time the arm comes in handy. Because Crimpton decides instead of walking around the machine, he would reach over it. And the machine lifts its arm and it lifts Crimpton off. And then he shoots Crimpton. And then it shoots Votan. And Votan burns. And then everyone
Killed
snaps.
by its own creation.
Yep, everyone snaps out of it and they're all okay.
And nobody remembers anything, and everything is good again.
So then it cuts to the doctor waiting outside the TARDIS. So at the beginning of the serial, the doctor put an out of order sign on the police box to make sure none of the police decided to try use it. So now he's waiting for Dodo. And then Polly and Ben show up and tell him Dodo's decided to stay in London. And she sends her love.
Yep, this is how they write out Dodo.
This is actually the worst way I can imagine writing anyone out.
It is.
I cannot think of a worse way to write someone out than to have them just disappear in the middle of the serial and never show up again. Well, there's one way it could have been worse, and that would have been if the doctor just didn't even notice and he just left.
I don't know. Would that actually have been worse?
Yes. It would have implied the doctor just didn't like Dodo. He was
It would
actually
have.
glad. She wasn't. When he heard it, he was like, "What? Ow, my heart. It's breaking into 10 pieces." Not really.
Well,
And then he's just like,
No,
"All
I
right,
thought-
better leave."
I thought he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, that's all you have to say after traveling through space and time with me." I thought it was like kind of
Yeah. He was
Yeah.
kind of hurt, I guess.
yeah.
Because she didn't come to say goodbye herself. Which,
Damn it, Dodo.
if she was
Why?
leaving, you'd think she'd at least do that.
Right, and I thought it was kind of weird how, if you remember how Dodo was written onto the show,
She just
it was
ran into the police
right.
box.
She just ran into the police box, and then the doctor's like, "You know we're traveling through space and time, right?" And she's like, "Yep, I want to do that," and then now she just doesn't. She just doesn't want to do it anymore.
I did like at the beginning the like subtle reference to that when he put the out of order sign on it and he's like, people have a tendency to just run into it and use it. Dodo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Polly and Ben are like walking away and Polly's like, "Hang on, wait, watch." And he like goes into the police box like he usually does to leave. And then Ben's like, "Oh shoot, I have this key that I picked up." Because when the doctor was reverse engineering he took off his cloak because he was hot, I guess. Which begs the question, why would you wear it?
But he gives it to Ben to hold on to it, and he's like, "Don't let it touch the ground." But then a key drops out of its pocket, and Ben's like, "What's this?" So he keeps it.
And then
And-
he's going to return it. So it turns out it's a TARDIS key. And then Polly and Ben go into the TARDIS. And then it dematerializes. And you don't know what the doctor says to them.
and you never will because this is the end of the show.
Yeah, like we
No,
said at the
no,
beginning of this episode, it's the final season of the show. You've all been lied to. You haven't actually been watching Doctor Who. It's all a psychic field.
it's all an electromagnetic field created by four cables.
Yeah, in London right now, they have 4 cables in a square right now just broadcasting fake Doctor Who to everyone. No, but
Jeez.
every time. Anyway, so yeah, you don't know what happens. Although they
Um,
did. Because the first serial of season 4 was filmed as part of the season 3 production block. So they
hmm,
all knew.
hmm. Even still, there wasn't much of a break between 3 and 4. I think
Yeah,
four.
presumably it's just going to continue right where it left off with the doctor telling them, "What are you doing here? You know we travel
Yeah.
through space and time, right?"
No, 3 ended in July of '66, and then 4 started in September. So, not much of a wait there. Um, but yeah, totally new companions now.
It's the first and only time for a while that the companion was written out and replaced in the same serial.
Um, and I don't know about you, but as soon as Polly and Ben were introduced, I was like, they're gonna be new companions.
Well, yeah, he relied on them for the whole episode. If they weren't, it would have been weird.
It would have. And uh, I didn't know Dodo was gonna get written out,
Neither did I.
and it was
It was really disappointing.
it was
So
this.
disappointing.
They've made questionable decisions on the show before, and they've made decisions that I haven't totally agreed with in regards to story and whatnot. But this was the first, well, maybe the second plot choice that they've made with the show that I can just say was flat out bad.
It
Like
was just wrong.
I don't understand how this decision to write Dodo out this way went through the entire line of command, so to speak, in production and was okayed at every level.
It's even worse is that the actor, God, what's her name?
Uh,
Jackie Lane, um, didn't bring up the point that Dodo never says goodbye. Like every other companion said goodbye. Even Vicky, even though it was off screen, she still said goodbye.
yep, Dodo doesn't even get anything at all.
I feel like they were trying to get some variety with companion rideouts, except that I hope at least that after they did that, they were like, wow, we should never do that again.
Hopefully. I mean, we'll see how Ben and Polly get written out, which I think you already know. Because you spoiled it for yourself.
I know what episode they get written out and what they do right before they get written out, but not why they leave. um, so yeah, Dodo.
Yeah, want to do a Dodo retrospective, as
I
we
guess.
always do on
I mean,
companions.
she
We just
kind of
had a
had to
companion
leave.
written out in the last serial, too.
I'm guessing she kind of had to leave since part of her character development was her pairing with Steven, and now that Steven wasn't there, they didn't really have anywhere for Dodo to go except for introducing a Steven clone, which would have been really weird.
I guess. I mean, I felt Dodo didn't have much character development. She wasn't there for very long, so it's kind of understandable, but I
What was
felt
her first serial? It was
St. Bartholomew's Eve right at the end.
oh right.
So the arc,
Yeah,
basically. So she was only here for, what,
a couple weeks.
3 complete serial, well, 3 full
Three.
serials, and then like 5 minutes at the end of one serial, and then like 2 episodes of this.
4 complete serials. The
4?
Ark, Celestial Toymaker, Gunfighters,
Oh,
and
right.
Savages.
Okay.
And then 2 episodes in War Machines, and then like basically 1 in Massacre.
Yeah. So she wasn't there for as long as some of the other companions have been. And
Still longer than Katarina.
yeah. I don't know. I felt her character development was almost non-existent because of that. They brought up that whole subplot where she watched her mom die, which wasn't really a subplot and more of just a thing that they showed for no reason. I don't know why. But to be honest, I actually liked her. Despite all of that, I liked her as a companion because she was just insane.
She worked well with Steven was the thing,
Because they were both insane.
basically. Although Steven was less insane.
Yeah, once Dodo started to accompany Steven, he started to be less insane, I feel like.
She was his rock, and then he left, and he was also her rock, so she decided to go insane as well and get hypnotized. And then she was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I am over. Peace out.
You know, even though she had the worst write out of all the companions, I think she had the best write in. Just walks into the TARDIS, is like, what's going on here? Well, we're traveling through space and time. I'm in.
Yeah, with that writing, you'd think she would have a better write-out. Like, I know we hated on Stevens last week, but I think I dislike Dodo's more.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
They've just been getting sloppy with companion write-outs. And I guess they're trying to write out all of the first Doctor's companions before they introduce the second Doctor, so they don't have any bleed over.
Well, there is Polly and Ben. I mean, they're only going to accompany the first Doctor for a little bit, but still.
Yeah, they should have just left Dodo for the final 2 serials of the first Doctor and written her out at the same time as the first Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have. Well, obviously, we haven't watched the next couple of serials yet,
Right.
but I think they could have written Polly and Ben in, had them accompany Dodo and the Doctor for like one serial, and then just had Dodo leave after that.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have been a problem.
I mean the Doctor traveled with 3 people before. Ian, Barbara, and Susan. So...
Yeah.
And the TARDIS is really big, so...
So, I mean, if there's no real storyline problems that arise with that, I don't see why they wouldn't have just done that.
I mean, maybe next week it'll be a serial where 3 people won't work. I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. And we won't until this coming week, I suppose.
Right. But this was also the end of season 3.
Right.
So we should probably do a season 3 retrospective as well.
So, companions that joined and left during season 3.
Oh god, there's a lot.
Yeah, we got Vicky.
Vicky left.
Vicky left.
Katarina joined. Sarah joined. Well, Katarina joined and then left because she died.
Right, and then Sarah joined and then died. And then
Dodo joined.
And then Steven left. And then Dodo left.
So completely different from the beginning of this serial. At the beginning, it was the Doctor, Vicky, and Steven, and it ended with the Doctor...
And Ben and Polly.
Right. So complete change-up, and...
Still 1 male and 1 female, though. But different characters.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say season 3 was the worst season so far.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean,
up until Dalek's Master Plan, I didn't like those serials very much. Dalek's Master Plan was good, and then after that, they were kind of just okay. I did really like the Ark and the Savages, but other than that, I'd say they were either just bad or okay.
Galaxy 4 was eh. Mythmakers, partially the reason why it was so bad was because Vicky's write-out was so bad. I mean,
true.
If you discount Vicky's write-out, it was an okay serial. Dalek's Master Plan was pretty good. Until, like, the end. Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve was just terrible! The Ark was good. Celestial Toymaker is my favorite still. Gunfighters was pretty good.
Would you say Celestial Toymaker is your favorite serial overall?
No, just for season 3.
Okay. Gunfighters was entertaining. Gunfighters is probably my favorite historical serial, actually. Well,
beating even Tagana and Marco Polo.
Are you the Doctor? Well, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Actually, it's up there though, in my favorite historical serials. And then there was the Savages, which was great in my opinion.
Savages was okay. I feel like this is the best season finale so far.
What?
Yes. It was better than Reign of Terror by far, and I think it was better than the Time Meddler.
Why?
It was just better than the Time Meddler.
Well, okay. In regards to Well,
Okay, it was definitely better than the Reign of Terror.
okay, it was better
we
than
can
Reign
agree
of
on
Terror.
that much.
Yes, we can agree on that. And maybe as a whole, this serial was better than the Time Meddler, but like the last 5 minutes, just what?
If
What?
you discount the final 5 minutes,
Fine, yeah. As if you look at both serials as a whole, I can agree that this was better than the Time Meddler.
yeah,
And I liked those uh, episode intro title screen things that they did.
yeah, they're pretty cool.
They had like
This futuristic robot font thing on a white background, and it was black, and it was interesting. Speaking of black, this was written by the same person who wrote The Savages. So,
Ian
Ian Stuart Black.
Yeah.
Was actually going to be written by someone else, because this is based on an idea from the technical director of the show.
Kit, whatever his or her name was.
Yeah, and it was going to be written by someone else, but they had to pull out of writing it to do something else. So they were like, hey, Ian, do you want to write another serial? And he was like, okay. And I guess he decided Dodo would have a terrible write-out. He wrote out Stephen and Dodo. It's the common link here.
In disappointing ways. Maybe they shouldn't get Ian Stuart Black on next time they want to write out a character.
I think he writes a second Doctor serial later.
Well, hopefully he's not going to write Ben and Polly out, because so far he's had a not good track record of writing people out. Let's see what else he does.
The Makra Terra is his final one.
Oh, he only does three.
But he created Votan. Okay, so the wiki mentions that the Doctor is pretty ruthless in this episode. I guess our season 3 retrospective is done. But apparently, in the prose, it mentions that in the original timeline, Votan wins and takes over the world and kills off a bunch of people, and they finally defeat it in 1969, and they outlaw radio and television. And I feel like the Doctor knew this because he traveled to the 2006 of the original timeline before coming to this 1966. And in that 2006, he's like, he finds out about the original timeline, and he says like, oh, I guess a future self of me will fix that.
It's starting to get timey-wimey.
But yeah, apparently Votan wins in the original timeline, and in this serial, the Doctor changes history and defeats Votan before he can take over.
That's good.
And I feel like that's why he was just so ruthless.
He does it with 4 cables and... Yeah, 4 cables.
Would you say the Doctor led to Crimpton's death?
Yes. It was his idea to take control of a war machine.
Great, now the Doctor's second on the character kill count, which is also on the website. Barbara's in the lead with 5.
She killed 2 Daleks and 3 Morphos.
Yeah.
Ruthlessly.
Without any emotion at all. Just... But yes, Barbara.
I think that's basically it. We didn't really talk about Season 3 that much.
Well, it was
again, what can be said about Season 3?
It was worse than Season 2 and 1.
Yeah, I'm just hoping Season 4 is sort of a return to form.
Well, it's going to be funky because the Doctor regenerates in the second serial of Season 4.
Yeah.
The only time the Doctor regenerates, like, mid-season.
Mm-hmm. And they're all the serials in Season 4 are either fully missing or partially missing, so not going to be watching many full episodes for a while.
We've got animation coming up.
Yay!
For the 4th episode of... The one where the Doctor regenerates, which is the 4th episode of the second serial, we have an animation.
Not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of looking forward to watching another animation. I mean, once we start watching it, I'm probably just gonna be like, oh, why was I looking forward to this? But we haven't watched one in a long time. Yeah, was it the Reign of Terror? Was that the last one we watched?
Yeah. It's the only one we've watched.
Yeah. Wasn't there another animation we could have watched, but we watched the reconstruction instead? No?
Not between Reign of Terror and now.
Huh, I thought there was for some reason. But either way, we have that coming up.
That's going to be fun. There's two serials with animation in Season 4, so...
I think we should just do both of them, because we've been watching so many reconstructions lately. Yeah. And Season 5 is also almost all reconstructions.
I think it's the Moon Base that has the other animation. So, yeah. Shoot! I came up with something to say in the middle of that, and now I forgot what it was. Oh well. Email us at thedoctor@decadentvegetable.com. Check us out on iTunes. Rate us on iTunes. And next week we
start season 4 with
uh, uh, uh,
the smugglers.
okay.
Until then, the end.